This is Connected, episode 177. It is brought to you by our sponsors, Squarespace, Pingdom, and Timing. My name is Stephen Hackett. This is a terrible intro, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mike Hurley. How are you?
I'm very well.
And Federico, are you still with us?
Hi, yes. Is this an NPR show? It felt like one. Your intro and all that.
Very calm introduction.
We're going to talk about policies and tax incentives. Our next segment is about asparagus farming in rural, whatever state asparagus is born in. Okay, we have follow-up. We start with follow-up at the beginning.
I think we need to give some context to people as to what the heck is going on right now.
I think it's fine. I think we just blast right through this.
Okay, great.
Today is Wednesday, January 24th. This is our new day.
Do you need to give us the date?
Yeah, there's no rules anymore. 5 years of show history evaporated, Federico, when you changed the day of the show.
Oh,
it's all gone.
So basically, every time you do the show, you need to remind people that it's Wednesday because they don't know.
Yeah. Well, today's the first Wednesday. You don't want to change days and not walk people through that life change. So
Sure.
Today's Wednesday. And next time we do the show, it will also be Wednesday, and then it'll be normal. So it's just a couple of weeks of transition. It's our new time, and it's fine.
The other big transition is that Stephen is now taking over the production of the show, hence why he's now introducing the show. Stephen is the host of Connected now forever.
If there's any editing problems, though, that week I didn't do it, and you can just tweet at iMike.
Yeah, that was me that week.
Okay, so let's do follow-up. We're going to start with Meltdown, everyone's favorite CPU vulnerability. Apple has patched macOS 10.11, 10.12, and 10.13 as of this week. So there's a High Sierra 10.13.3 update and a security update for the older OSs. There's also new Safari versions for 10, 11, 12, and 13 that take care of the Spectre side of things. So if you're on something older than 10.11, it's probably time. I mean, unless you have something that's really keeping you on 10.9 or earlier, I think at this point it's probably okay to upgrade because this is a pretty big deal. So I'm glad Apple went back to 10.11. Usually they only support the current OS and one back. Sometimes they go two back for some stuff, but I'm really glad they've done this. And if you're running 10, 11, 12, or 13, when you get a second, hit software update in the Mac App Store because there are things waiting for you, and then you'll be more secure. It's good.
Yeah.
Way to go.
I'm kind of disappointed because I upgraded to High Sierra because of this.
Yes.
Although I will say, upgrading to High Sierra fixed a login items bug for me, so that was good. Basically, for the last maybe 6 months, every time I turn on my iMac, which is every day because I always just turn my iMac off. The reason I do this is because my USB device, so like the it's called the USB Pre 2. It's like the audio device that I plug my microphone into.
Yes, me too.
It stays on if my iMac is sleeping, and I don't like that. I just don't want it to stay on because it's an expensive piece of equipment, and I just get concerned about its lifetime if it's on 24/7.
Me too.
So I turn my iMac off every day. So basically, every time I turn my iMac on, I had to open Text Expander, Dropbox, and Alfred every single time.
Oh, gosh.
And nothing that I could do, even using Stephen Hackett's wise skills, could fix this. But upgrading to High Sierra did fix it, so I got that.
Man, you have far fewer login items than I do.
No, I have like maybe 8 or 9 login items. But just those 3, no matter what I did,
That's terrible.
wouldn't work. Everything else worked. Just those 3 wouldn't work. So that was fun.
You turned off your iMac. I honestly, I didn't think you did that. But it makes sense if you don't use it often. It just reminded me as you were talking about the fact you turned off your computer. When I was younger, when I was a kid, my father was obsessed with turning off electronics at night. And there was a period of time, I think he read it on a newspaper or something, that even all those LEDs that you get on televisions and like the answering machine or computers, basically anything needed to be turned off at night. And that was really inconvenient for me because also, maybe I left my computer to download something. It was in the early days of, downloading MP3s and stuff from the internet. Or, for example, my PlayStation. And suddenly my dad, in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., because he also suffered for insomnia or something, he couldn't sleep. He would just basically walk into my room and turn off anything he could find. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was terrible. It's like you see this guy walking into your room in the middle of the night, turning off and unplugging stuff while also talking, and saying things like, "Oh, he never turns off anything here." and I was really upset. I would be like, "Dad, please keep my computer on because I'm downloading songs." And I was like, "You need to listen to songs on music tapes, not on a computer." I was a really struggling, technology enthusiast when I was younger, and my dad was really upset about all the electronics turning out at night. And this is something that has stuck with me. So whenever someone mentions turning off computers, I get kind of triggered for that memory. So thanks, Mike. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, at least I'm not sneaking around. I mean, I know what I'm going to do to you next time we share a room. I'm just going to turn off everything.
It was real creepy. He would like unplug stuff and I could feel that he was angry about it.
I'm going to do that to you. 100%.
Yanking cables out of the wall. Yeah.
You'll wake up in the morning and like your phone has been turned off. Like just straight up, it's just off. Apple Watch is off. Everything's off.
This is my nightmare. This is my nightmare scenario. My nightmare vacation is my roommate.
You've given me too much power here, man. You shouldn't have told me this. We share rooms every year. Like I'm going to turn all your stuff off.
God. Anyway. Yeah.
I wanted to do a little follow out to episode 39 of App Stories. Federico, I'm not sure if you know this. That's another podcast that you do.
It's a podcast I do.
It is a great podcast that I enjoy very much. And I just want to say it is not a Relay FM show. And I get this a lot. And I just want everyone to know, not that I wouldn't be proud of it. It's just not. Right? Like, I feel like all the time people ask me questions. Somebody said to me a few days ago, "Why did you cancel App Stories?" I was like, "I didn't."
It's been canceled.
Put that on me because he couldn't find it. Someone couldn't find it on the Relay FM website. I can understand why people would think it because Federico has 3 shows on Relay FM, but this just isn't. This is the Mac Stories production.
Yeah. When John sent us the tweet of someone saying, "Why did you cancel App Stories?" I was like, oh God.
I'm sorry to all the App Stories listeners.
I thought we would get this question, but not to the point where, why did you cancel App Stories?
It's so much fear in that person. So at least you know they love your show.
It is a good show. So this episode, most recent episode, was about the Mac App Store. It is, I don't know what the right word is. Stagnant, forgotten, depressing. It's not great. And the two of you talk about maybe some solutions to that. And I think that it was really great, especially in light of this story that's sort of like background radiation to everything right now, that iOS and macOS apps are going to join forces somehow or be on a shared framework or be one unit. No one really knows. But I thought it was really good. And I want to point listeners to that because I think if you like Connected, I think you're going to like App Stories, but in particular, this episode was, I thought, really insightful about something that we don't talk about very much. So,
Thank you.
I've actually enjoyed the last 3 episodes quite a lot. Not that they're not all good, but like just the last 3 I remember enjoying.
Thank you.
Quite a lot. One of them included friend of the show, James Thompson, which is a nice segue into our next follow-up item. I received a box at home today. I opened the box and found a trophy inside the box because I finished the year as the fastest completion person. What is it like? What I have the fastest time in level 1 of the PCalc game that's inside of the about screen, and James sent me a trophy. I've never had a trophy for anything. This is my first ever trophy.
That's really sad.
It's okay. I'm not very sporty. And I'm very proud of this because I put a lot of time into becoming the fastest at the game level. And I am the winner. I am the winner forever. And I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who helped make this possible for me.
Oh, congratulations, Mike.
Like who? You're not going to name them on the air? That's kind of Kind of rude.
Well, as I said in my tweet, Craig Federighi, the Stig, my parents, and James Thompson.
I couldn't understand because I think there was a typo in
Oh no, sorry, I didn't pronounce it right. It's Craig Federighi. He's my
he's
my driving
person.
tutor. It's my driving tutor. You would think it would that what I was trying to say was Craig Federighi is like a funny joke about Apple, but I was just legitimately thanking my driving coach, Craig Federighi.
So this is a joke, right? I'm not getting the joke, but it's a joke.
What's the joke?
Craig Federighi.
It's my driving coach. It's just a funny coincidence.
Do you have a driving coach? You don't have a driving. Come on.
His name is Craig Federighi. I just told you.
No.
This is British humor. This is British humor that I don't get. This is
just
the
a bad
perfect
joke. It's not necessarily British.
I think it's a good joke. I think there's lots of people that are laughing at this, but you guys just don't get it.
Yeah.
But I got a real trophy. It's a real trophy. It's got my name on it, and it's sitting up on my mantle with an orange brain ball. Thank you, James.
I'm happy for you, Mike. I know that you care about the game a lot.
I saw a story in TechCrunch. The Amazon Alexa app for Android will now have the Alexa Smart Assistant built into it, as well as just being an application that is for managing your devices. So this is apparently coming to iOS soon. But one of the benefits of doing this on Android, and probably the reason that they did it first, is that some devices will allow you to summon Alexa from any, like with your device being shut off or whatever, right? Like you can have your, like you would be asking for Google Assistant or Siri.
Right. You can set not only default apps, but like default voice assistants.
Yep. So this is interesting. It's coming to iOS in some way, probably just like how the Google Assistant app works, right? Where you can just open the app and just give it a command. I mean, it's a good thing to have, I guess, like just so you've got it. But really, more than anything, I just want them to do some work to refine the janky iOS app. Like, it's the Alexa app is like just not very well refined. It's just not very good.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I've used third-party Amazon Echo apps that like use the voice service API to let you issue commands, and they tend to support most of the functionality that you would get from an actual speaker, but they don't have, stuff like Spotify, for example, or I think some of them do not offer the voice briefing feature. So I want to see if Amazon is able to bring the actual complete feature set from the physical speaker onto the iPhone version. I'm surprised that it's becoming part of the Alexa app. I'm sorry. Because I see that app as the configuration screen basically for the Amazon Echo speakers and all the skills. And to have the assistant built in, I would have liked, I think, a separate utility that is just like a microphone that shows you what is going on when you speak. So maybe it's an opportunity to improve the native app, or maybe it's just more clutter into the Amazon app. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. I mean, I guess it's like a way. I guess it's some kind of way for people that don't have the devices to try it out. Maybe.
Yeah, like a demo. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I don't know if people would really do that. But I guess it's one of those things where it's like, well, if we can do it, why would you not try it?
I mean, it's the functionality on the phone is limited anyway. Because it's more meant to, the Amazon assistant is more is meant to be used in actual speakers around the house. So it is like a demo on the smartphone anyway. Also because on the iPhone, as you mentioned, you don't get the full access. Like you cannot change the default assistant. So it's another app you need to open, kind of like the Google Voice Search and the Google Assistant. You need to open that. And yes, you can save time with 3D Touch shortcuts and widgets and stuff like that, but it's never going to be as easy as Siri. So I want to try it out. I want to see what it's like. Mostly, I'm interested in whether they redo the design of the official app or not.
I just want it to be a better app.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about it.
Me either. All right. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Squarespace. Use the offer code WORLD at checkout and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. Make your next move with Squarespace. They let you easily create the website that you want for your next idea or project or event. They have fantastic templates. There's tons of great templates at Squarespace. They're all award-winning and they're beautiful and really customizable. But they have some that are like purpose-built for certain things, like weddings or businesses or bands or portfolios. So you can use any of them for anything. But the templates that they set up are really, really great. And they have even some of them I'm using it for our wedding website that we're setting up, which is why I'm so well versed in understanding this right now. But they even give you in some of the templates like a structure of pages. So you know all of the types of pages you're going to need. Like, you're going to need an RSVP page. You're going to need a gifts and registry page. You're going to need a locations page, right? And it's like, oh, thanks, Squarespace. Now I don't have to think about all of the pages that I'm going to have to use because you've included them for me. It's really awesome. But you can blow all that stuff away and completely customize it to your heart's content. You can grab a unique domain name, take advantage of award-winning 24/7 customer support, and without having to worry about installing anything, patching anything, upgrading anything, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform that takes care of that stuff for you. Their plans start at just $12 a month, but you can start a trial today with no credit card required just by going to squarespace.com and use the offer code WORLD when you sign up, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase and show your support for this show. Our thanks to Squarespace for their continued support of this show and Relay FM. Squarespace, make your next move, make your next website.
And moving the show to Wednesday, we have a bunch of news to talk about that we would have missed otherwise. So, it's lucky coincidence, really. Starting first, we have the HomePod is available for pre-order on Friday, January 26th in the US, UK, and Australia, and it ships Friday, February 9th. So 2 weeks later. What do you guys think about this? I feel like the reaction to this has been very subdued, at least in our circles.
Well, I think it is strange that we still don't know many of the details we wanted to know about this product, and I think there's this problem with a lot of folks who are saying, well, this is just a plain boring speaker by Apple, and it's basically the new iPod Hi-Fi. Do not expect anything magical or mysterious suddenly appearing when you get one. And there's the other side that says, clearly we don't know enough about this product. There must be features that Apple has not told us about. And even though it is strange that we haven't seen, embargoed reviews from, for example, high-profile audio, some very specific audio blogs, for example. So there's people who tend to believe we're going to see multi-user support. We're going to see, more details about how it works with your local iTunes library. And there's those who think, no, this is just a speaker. That's what it is. They do not support, the new AirPlay 2 stuff at launch. They do not support even stereo mode. And this is all you get. It's just a speaker. And it's not going to have multi-user. It's not going to have all the other things that you think it will have. I don't know what I think. I think I'm going to get one. So I'm going to try. John is going to get one in the US for me and is going to ship it to me. I'm going to spend a lot of money, but I really want this product because I need to write about it and I need to talk about it. Because having thoughts, having hot takes is really important for our businesses. And so I'm excited about the idea of having an easy way to stream music to the speaker using the Control Center UI that does not require Bluetooth, but that's not good enough of a reason to justify this kind of purchase. So I'm curious to try the SiriKit stuff. I want to see how well it works with HomeKit. I want to see how well it works with Things, for example, which is my task manager that supports SiriKit. I don't think we'll get, like when you take the HomePod out of the box, you will realize, oh, this thing supports multi-user and supports, a bunch of things that Apple didn't tell us about. So I tend to fall more on the other side of the discussion of, this is what you get. Apple has a press release. You will not get what it's not in the press release.
Yep.
I would say, to give you a number, if this can be quantified, 60% excited about the HomePod. I'm not sure how else we can
Moderate
I can
to not
quantify
excited
this.
is, I guess, 60%.
Yes.
Steve Troughton-Smith summed this up really nicely in a tweet. He said, HomePod is only mysterious if you're still hoping it has secret features Apple hasn't announced. Reality is, it's
there
just
you
a
go.
straightforward, boring product that does just what it says on the marketing page, and 8 months later, still unable to ship with all the features advertised. I liked that summary, because it's like, you're saying about like multi-user features, like what else? Oh, like people digging through the pages. What other secret things? The answer is none. It is a product which didn't have a lot of features to begin with and has less when it launches than we even expected because there's no AirPlay 2 support, which is very strange. That is something which I've really been trying to like get my head around. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they releasing a product that was already late without one of the core features? It seems strange to me.
It is strange. I cannot get my head around why do they feel the urge to release this product now. My only theory is that the production line is ready. These devices are ready to be manufactured, and the AirPlay 2 release date. Apple said later this year. I don't think it means what a lot of people think it means. I don't think it means October. I don't think it means iOS 12. I think it means iOS 11.3 at some point. It's not in the beta 1 that was just seeded to developers today. But if you look in the release notes, it seems to imply that Siri control for AirPlay 2 is not available in this beta, but will be later on. So my only theory is that Apple really wants to release this product now because they want to clear the deck for whatever it is that they have coming next, and AirPlay 2 will not be delayed by 6 or 7 months, but just by like 1 to 2 months, whatever the beta time for 11.3 is. So from that perspective, it's still strange, but if it's not October, then I can see why it might make sense.
I mean, I would use those same facts the other direction, that if AirPlay 2 and all this stuff is only 6 to 8 weeks out, then hold the product 6 to 8 weeks and then ship something that does what you said it would do. Like, I think it's going to be, I mean, it may be an 11.3 at some point, but I don't think it's that soon. Or, I mean, why would you go through all of the negativity that this product is going through this week?
Yeah.
If just waiting another month, you're already behind. You already missed the year. Why go through a second round of disappointment from users and pundits?
The lead of every review is going to talk about the fact that this product is half-baked.
Yep.
Like,
yes.
That is the story for every single website's review, is that it is a half-baked product, which was always half-baked to begin with, right? Because Siri is only doing so much compared to its competitors, right? Like, it isn't even full Siri in there, right? There's like weird things that it does and doesn't do. So that was where it was starting from, and now it's starting even further back from that because there are significant features that do not work. And I mean, like, so here's the thing. One of the big things is like stereo mode and multi-room audio, right? Which by and large probably isn't that important because how many people are buying multiple ones of these immediately? And I know that the multi-room audio works with existing products, but like the people that have those already have those products anyway in their homes, right? So like they probably have an existing system which already has multi-room audio. So it's not about like what you're getting and what you're not getting. It's like the story of the entire product. And the story of this product is it is not finished. So why is it being shipped? Like, it is not a new version of a product. It doesn't compete with anything else that Apple makes. It is this wholly contained thing, which is like a new slice of their music business. Nothing is pushing them on this. Like, if the best they're ever going to do for this product from a PR perspective is a press release, it could come out at any time. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like they had an event for this 2 weeks ago thinking AirPlay 2 was going to be done by now, and they realize it's not, but now they've had the event, so they've got to ship it. Like, this was a product that literally nobody has seen outside of the original demos at WWDC, which from what we can understand from the people that attended those were very stripped down. You couldn't touch it, couldn't talk to it, could only listen to it. Like, that's all we've had. Nobody else has seen it. There's been no other communication about it except that it was going to be delayed. And now, like, here it is, just pooped out to the world, right? It's just like, I hit it, there you go. Oh, by the way, it doesn't work properly. It's weird.
Well, those who defend Apple on a regular basis will tell you that this product shouldn't be reviewed or considered from a Siri perspective, but as a high-end audio perspective. And from that point of view, Apple really wanted to make a high-end speaker, and they made one, and now they're launching this speaker. And that is a point of view that I really do not understand, because...
Well, my argument on that would be a high-end speaker in 2018 would support some kind of multi-room audio.
Exactly. And I highly doubt that, a consumer company like Apple that is pushing this speaker with Siri functionality really thinks that high-end audio is not a niche. And that actually the majority of their users would be interested in stuff like Siri controls or HomeKit. And I don't see any of my friends or any of my, the people I know being really interested in, I'm going to the electronics store because I'm buying a high-end audio device, a high-end speaker. It's just not something that normal people say or think or do.
Well, realistically, like, are people not just listening to music from their phone speakers now? Like, right?
Yes.
Is that not just what people do? I feel like that's what people do.
Yeah.
Stephen, I have a question for you. Can Apple just not find a way to make successful products that play audio, right? Like, is this just iPod Hi-Fi 2? Is that what this is?
I hope not, because that did not go very well. The Hi-Fi, by the way, sounds great. Jason Snell has one. I have one. We both use ours on a regular basis. They're great.
You just plug it in and use it as like an aux speaker, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, okay. Yep. I have a bunch of old iPods I could put in the top, but I don't. The thing that, I sort of get the joke, but I think there's something to this. Like the idea of Apple entering an existing category, like when they introduced the iPod Hi-Fi, they had like a Bose sound dock on stage. They're like, we're going to sound better than that, and for the same money or less, and it didn't work. But then they do that with something like music players or smartphones, and it does work. So the question is, which side of the divide does the HomePod fall on? And I don't know, because the iPhone and the iPod all started out as really simple products, and they became more mature. They didn't do all the things that other smartphones or other music players did. But the HomePod feels like it's really behind, like right out of the gate. And I think the thing that's most concerning to me is not the music streaming. So they use Apple Music and all these other devices. You can use, Google Play Music or Amazon's Music, or you can swap in Spotify or use other services, or the HomePod is only Apple Music. I'm not particularly worried about that. What I am worried about, though, is the performance of Siri on this thing. And Siri can be really frustrating on your phone or on your watch. And the Echo, and I don't have much experience with the Google Home products, but my understanding is the Google Home products as well work really well with voice stuff. They understand what you say, no matter where you are in the room, and they turn that into action, like in the correct way. And how many times have we all asked Siri to do something, and it just responds, "I'm sorry, I can't find this," and it's some garbled mess of words that sort of sound like what you said. And for a device that is primarily operated by your voice, Apple's voice stuff isn't as good as these other companies. And that's really, I think, at the heart of your question, Mike, of is this going to be the Hi-Fi 2.0? I think it's going to come down to what is the Siri experience. And I have no doubt that the HomePod is going to be able to hear people well. It has like 6 microphones around it, just like the Echo and these other products do. I have no doubt the hardware is in there for it to hear what I say.
Yeah, I bet that this device gets you more correctly more of the time because it has a hardware advantage that the phones and watches and iPads cannot have, right? Like a microphone array is a very different experience, right? Like that, and I expect that the HomePod will hear you and understand you way better. But imagine if it doesn't, though, right? Like, and I know that's what you're getting at.
And
Stephen.
hearing is different than understanding, and that's where like the watch, for instance. I think it always hears what I say, but then what does Siri, the server side component, or the logic component, what does that do with it? And that's, I think, where Apple is behind. And so I'm very curious about how that plays out. People, I feel like, and this may just be based on my own experience, but I feel like when Siri gets things wrong, people get really frustrated. I think often because Siri is cute about it, which I think is the wrong approach. I don't feel that same level of frustration when my Echo misunderstands me or is unable to do what I asked it. And I think the HomePod is going to suffer from that existing low-level frustration people have with Siri. And I think for a lot of people, it's just going to turn them off. I mean, I think I was actually speaking to a friend last night about it because he had seen the news, and he's not big into tech. I think he has like he's nerdy enough to know what I do and understand it, but he's not real hardcore. And this was kind of his thought process was like, Siri's sort of garbage on my phone, so why would I want to buy a speaker with Siri in it? And I was like, you know what? That's a really legitimate question, and I think Apple has to prove that they can get it right.
Something that I'm interested to want to see how this works, right? Like my expectation is you say, "Hello there, Siri, play Fleetwood Mac," and that is expected then for the HomePod to just start playing music, right? Like that's what I would expect it to do. Let's say I'm in my kitchen. Very frequently between me and my kitchen, like from my kitchen to where I would put a HomePod maybe next to my TV, there is like a minefield of iOS devices, right? I have one attached to my wrist, one in my pocket, and then maybe two iPads, and if Adina's home, another phone in between where I would be and where the HomePod would be. How is that going to work? I'm really interested to see what the plan is. That like if a HomePod is attached to your Apple ID or whatever, or if like your phone knows that a HomePod is nearby, does it prioritize the HomePod? Because that would be really annoying, right? Like if I was asking it, and like, cause for example, with my Echoes, standing in certain places in my house, I might get picked up by the one that I don't want it to pick me up on, and that's really annoying. Yeah. But I only have like two or three of those, and they're like stretched throughout the house. But in the same room that I would be controlling my HomePod, there are multiple iOS devices. So I'm keen to see how that works.
I think it should probably do like if there's a HomePod on the network, and then if it establishes that the iPhone is nearby, but the HomePod can hear you, in just a fraction of a second, it should activate the HomePod by default. So there should be like a two-step check. First is the HomePod on the network, and then is the iPhone nearby, and can the HomePod pick up your voice better than the iPhone? So that's a very complex kind of setup of technology of being able to get this right. I cannot complain about how the voice activation for Siri works when you have multiple iOS devices in front of you. It seems to be working quite well for me, and it tends to go to the active device that I'm actually using. So I'm optimistic that this basic stuff is gonna work. What concerns me the most is the SiriKit stuff for third-party apps, and the way that, for example, I don't want to be in the situation where trying to save a task in things and it doesn't work because the communication with the iPhone is broken.
Do we know like how much computation the HomePod is actually doing? Like if there is no phone, what can it do?
Well, no SiriKit.
So it will be able to control music and do basic things, but like if I want to ask to add a task to things, or if I want to order a lift, none of that will work.
No. because the iPhone with the actual brain for SiriKit with the actual apps is not around. And that's the problem with SiriKit, that it depends on software being locally installed on your device. It's not like talking to a server, and that's the big problem. So like if I'm not around, what I want to know is if I'm not around, my iPhone is with me, but my iPad is at home, and Sylvia decides I should put a task in Federico's task manager, and she talks to the HomePod. I'm not around, the iPad with things on it does it work? The question, my question would be, does it allow Sylvia, who is another voice talking to the HomePod, does it give her access to SiriKit? And second, does it know that I'm not around, but the iPad is? Is it able to say Federico is not around, but one of his devices is? So I would assume that it's not. It's an iPad, so the iPad does not talk to the HomePod. It's just one iPhone. But what if I have multiple iPhones? I would assume that just one iPhone can be the admin iPhone. So my answer would be it will not work when I'm not around, even if I have multiple devices, even if I have multiple iPhones, because just one iPhone can be the administrator device for the HomePod, and I need to be home. But if I'm home and Sylvia talks to it, then I think it will work, which is a whole other problem about multi-user access and all that.
So how are we going to find out the answers to these questions? How are we going to do this?
Well, Steven and I, we're going to run some tests. And
okay. You're both buying these then, right? You've decided that?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought I was going to get a white one, but I think Apple slightly updated the black color, fabric, whatever, and they have new marketing photos. I think it looks much, much better. It's actual black, not dark space gray as before. So I'm going to get the black one, also because it blends in better with the furniture in my kitchen/living room. And I will ask Sylvia to help me with tests. I will perform multiple scenarios where I pretend to be sleeping and Sylvia is asking questions to the HomePod. I leave my iPhone at home. I walk out of the house with my iPhone, see what happens. I've run a whole bunch of tests for you, Mike.
So this is like 2 weeks away before it ships? Is that right? And Steven, you're still going to buy one?
I am really... Because I, like Federico, I feel like I need to talk about it for work. So we're an Apple Music family, but we have a bunch of Amazon Echoes, and so I pay for the whatever it is, like $5 a month, Amazon's like Echo only streaming plan. And honestly, guys, it's good. Like I don't think we've had hardly anything asked of the Echo that it can't play. It does a really good job, and so I'm not looking to replace the Echo, but that is going to be, I think, my approach in my review is, hey, I unplugged my Echo and I put this in its place in the kitchen. Did my family murder me? Thankfully, all of our smart home stuff is both HomeKit and Echo compatible, so it's not like we're going to lose access to that sort of stuff. But I'm gonna swap it in for our kitchen Echo and just see how it goes, because I mean, even as recently as iOS 11.2.5 is the new version, one of the things we use all the time is now part of Siri, where we say, hey, assistant voice, ask, or, tell me the news, right? And so it plays a 4-minute NPR news thing and then says the weather. We use that on our Echo all the time. And now Siri can do that. And so that was kind of one of those things on my mental checklist of what do we ask the Echo all the time that the HomePod can't do. And so I think for our purposes, it will do probably everything we want it to do, but I'm curious how well it does it and if it's frustrating. And, the Echo does a pretty good job at reading web content. So if you ask it sort of data questions, it can go out and read stuff from the internet, and Siri doesn't do that very well unless you're kind of in default categories. So I'm going to replace my Echo in the kitchen and see what happens. And if I never come back on the show, it's because my family murdered me for it.
I'm very keen to see how you two get on with it. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what to think about it. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that in a couple of weeks from you both.
Yeah, I should say, before we move on to the next segment, I've been liking Siri lately. I know that it's still dumb and it drives me crazy every single time. Like today I wanted to text John and couldn't get like a simple sentence right. But it works most of the time. Just when it doesn't, I'm upset. But, for controlling lights, listening, streaming Apple Music, because, yes, I still use both Spotify and Apple Music. Reading, like the other day, I wanted to see what was going on because I hadn't watched TV or read, news websites for a while. And so I asked, show me the popular news. And it worked. So I use it more than ever, which is not a lot, but also more than 0 times a day. So I think Siri needs to get a lot better at the very basics, at chaining multiple commands together. There's a bunch of improvements that I want Siri to go through, but I'm looking forward to the HomePod also because my experience with Siri lately hasn't been as terrible as in the past. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, so stay tuned. This week's episode is brought to you by Pingdom. Start monitoring your websites and servers today at pingdom.com/relayfm. When you do, you'll get a 14-day free trial just by going to that URL, and then enter the offer code CONNECTED at checkout, and you'll get a huge 30% off your first invoice. Pingdom is all about giving you a bit of peace of mind. If you run a website, sometimes things break. And one of the worst things to happen if your website goes down or something breaks on your website is for you to check Twitter and 2 hours ago people were tweeting at you because they couldn't get to what they wanted. That stuff is so frustrating because you feel like you've let people down, or you feel like now the pressure is on because everybody's trying to get it. You just don't want to have to do any of that. That's why you need Pingdom. Pingdom use more than 70 global test servers to emulate visits to your site, checking its availability as often as every single minute. And if something breaks, they will alert you. There are a bunch of different ways that you can choose. You can choose push notification via their app, text message, email, whatever works for you, they can do it. They can send you all of those if you want to make sure that you're 100% covered of any outages. Then, once you know something's wrong, you can go in and fix the error before it affects you. Stuff breaks on the internet. All day, every day. Pingdom detect 13 million outages a month. This is just of the websites that they monitor. So the sheer scale of things breaking online is very, very frequent. Whether you have a small website or a complete infrastructure, it is important to monitor availability and performance, because otherwise, why do you even have the website if nobody can get to it? Pingdom isn't just about monitoring the entire website as like a binary thing, up or down. It can also look at contact forms, e-commerce checkouts, logins, search functions. Because our websites are made up of all these dependencies that can all independently go wrong now, they make sure that they monitor all of it for you. You don't want to be caught when your site is down and somebody's trying to get there. You don't want that. That's why you need Pingdom. Check it out today and you'll be the first to know when something goes wrong. Go to pingdom.com/relayfm for a 14-day free trial and use the code CONNECTED at checkout to get a fantastic 30% off your first invoice. Our thanks to Pingdom for their continued support of this show and Relay FM. All right, so today, as we record this, which is the 24th of January, Apple released something on the PR newsroom about iOS 11.3, which is coming sometime in the spring. There is a developer beta available now. It includes in it some stuff that we expected, some stuff we could have guessed, and some brand new things all in all. So, Federico, I know that you got out the quill today and put your blogging hat back on, and you wrote up some of the changes over at Mac Stories. So one of the things that is happened, one of the things that is coming of 11.3 that Apple detailed today is ARKit 1.5.
Yes.
What will ARKit 1.5 enable in AR apps?
It'll fix one of the most popular complaints that developers of the original ARKit reported last year, which was the lack of support for recognizing and placing objects on vertical surfaces instead of horizontal ones. The first ARKit only supported horizontal surfaces like tables or chairs or something like that. Now ARKit 1.5 will support recognizing walls, doors, anything that is vertical, it'll be able to recognize and place graphics on. In addition to that, the Apple is adding support for recognizing 2D images. They say things like signs, posters, something that is recognized as a 2D image can be fed to the ARKit engine, and developers will be able to use that information to overlay graphics and do crazy things with being one of the examples that Apple provided was like an interactive museum experience, where as you're walking around, you're pointing the iPhone at like a painting on the wall, and the painting gets recognized, and you get custom graphics around it, like explanations or animations or more details, stuff that we tend to see in, kind of like in usually in sci-fi movies of you move around and you see this kind of virtual reality mixing in with the graphics on your phone, seen by the camera.
Well, I mean, this is the use case that people imagine.
It's perfect.
Right?
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's the kind of idea of I'm pointing my phone at something, and these custom graphics and details and information is also available on the screen. And to make that happen...
So is this a mix of ARKit and Core ML?
I don't know. See, that's
Okay.
what I don't know. Apple says that the 2D images gets recognized by advanced computer vision techniques, which should mean that the vision framework is also involved, because that's what the vision framework could do, recognize rectangles, for example. And I would assume that developers then need to, like if you're a museum and you're working on a custom ARKit app for your exhibition, you would have to implement something like beacons, for example, to say the user is standing near to this painting and we see a rectangle in the camera, then we can infer that this is indeed the painting we assume it is. So stuff like that should be possible. Also, Apple says that the camera should be sharper and more responsive because there's a doubled resolution, and autofocus is also available in the ARKit camera mode. So nice improvements to see before iOS 12. I'm surprised to see vertical surfaces this year, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm happy about that, actually. I think that's cool, because like we were just putting up some pictures a couple of days ago, and I tried to use some ARKit apps, and like it didn't feel very great. Like it just felt like it was a little bit janky. It was fine with floor stuff, but not with the walls. Right, like it works, but not amazingly. So I'm happy to see them adding this in. I think this is a really, really excellent addition, which is going to enable many more experiences that way.
I think so, especially when you consider, like, I want to see what Apple does with this. I keep thinking that ARKit mode in maps would be perfect, especially now that it can recognize signs. I could imagine like walking directions with ARKit, and maybe you want to double check, you want to confirm that you're making the right turn, you can point at a street sign or stuff like that. That would be cool. But I think before we see any new major built-in ARKit modes that Apple takes seriously in iOS, I think we'll have to wait for ARKit 2 at least. So it still seems like Apple is gathering feedback from developers to make ARKit better, to nail the basics, and then maybe eventually we'll see some first-party Apple stuff with ARKit in iOS 12, I guess.
I'm happy to see that they have updated this. They've put these changes in place before WWDC.
Yeah.
I think that's good. That like says a lot about ARKit, right? They want to make it better quickly.
Especially if you consider there was a story a few weeks ago that I think from Sensor Tower or some other analytics firm, that it was phrased such as only X thousands apps are support ARKit, but it was meant to sound like the adoption is not good enough. And so I don't know if Apple was, if that story pushed Apple to say, no, we're moving up some features in ARKit 1.5, but I don't think so. It's just a natural evolution of things. Apple and Tim Cook seem to be really behind ARKit, so they have this aggressive schedule, it seems. And at this point, we could only speculate that ARKit 2 is coming at WWDC, and it'll have horizontal and vertical surface recognition built in. So, it's exciting. I still haven't found the killer app for ARKit, the app that I use every single day. So I want to see what they do for version 2.
Something that I think we all could have expected is new Animoji. 4 new Animoji: a dragon, a bear,
Yeah.
a skull, and a lion are being added with iOS 11.3. I feel like that whilst this probably isn't going to drive a ton of people, it feels like this is just like how a lot of people believe that emoji helps drive iOS adoption rates. I'm sure that Animoji will help, not to the same level, but like I expect there'll be some people that will want to get the cute lion Animoji, so we'll update for that. The skull looks wicked though.
Yeah. The skull is the new alien. It's crazy.
But it looks better than the alien.
It looks better.
I like it.
It does.
I like it.
It does.
I like it.
Yeah.
Business chat has been
Our
enabled.
favorite feature.
So
Yes.
I don't think we need to talk about what business chat does, because all people
Sure.
need to do is go back and listen to episode 147 where Teachy teached us all about it.
We haven't
Yes.
done a teaches in a while, Mike.
Well, because we need to wait for the next WWDC, right? Like that was the idea. Is you
Right.
were teaching us about all of the API enhancements because I wasn't going to watch those session videos, but you could, and I felt like it was good. It was helping you get the thinking for the review done. So that will be after WWDC next year. We'll go back to Teachy Teaches for a bit, unless you have anything specific like Taekwondo or something that you wanna like impart your knowledge onto the world.
Oh, so we're branching out to different topics. Okay, all right. I'll think
It
about it.
depends. If you've got something, if there's something you really want to talk about, you can have the floor. But business chat will be coming. Is it coming with the release? Is that the plan?
It's coming with the release as a beta still. So they're launching the beta with 11.3.
But this is a beta for people, right? Like this, like people can
A
use
public
it. Where,
one. Yes.
Yeah, right now it's like just for businesses to test their testing stuff.
Yeah.
Batteries and performance were called out specifically, but it seems like nothing is in the developer beta yet. What have Apple said will be in the batteries and performance section of 11.3?
There will be 2 features. One is you will be able to check the health of your battery and get a message if it needs to be serviced. And this will be supported on iPhone models starting with the iPhone 6 up until the latest ones, I think. And the second feature is that you will be, Apple has a whole sentence about this, but basically you will be able to turn off the throttling of your iPhone CPU if you don't want the feature, and this will allow you to say, I don't care about unexpected shutdowns, I like to live dangerously and I want to keep the option disabled. And this will be supported on iPhone models from the iPhone 6 up until the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, not on the latest ones, the 8 and the 10, because they do not have throttling built in. So 2 features not available today, coming in a later beta, and basically this is what Tim Cook said in an interview, because now Tim Cook leaks beta features. 2 features for battery and performance.
9 to 5 Tim. I wonder, like, there isn't anything in here, and I wonder if they're going to add it. Like, are you going to be notified that this is affecting you? Or do you have to go and look?
It is not clear. It seems Apple does not mention notifications. It would be the right thing to do, right? To tell people, hey, we noticed something in your battery and we're doing X. But also telling people is the first step to get people to, get a battery at a cheaper price because there's a discount. So I don't know if Apple wants to do notifications. They should, though, because it's the right thing to do. But there's no mention of this feature yet.
Question for both of you. If for whatever reason this starts to catch up and it ends up halfway through a cycle, this starts happening, would you turn off the throttling or leave it on?
That's a good question.
I will leave it on. I do not want my iPhone to randomly shut down while I'm at the airport or at the gate or something.
Do you want your iPhone to run slowly?
How much? That's my question.
See, I would turn it off and see. Right, I would want to see, what is the difference on a daily basis, and that's how I would want to make my decision. But
yes.
I would 100% turn it off to see what it was like, and then kind of make my mind up.
Yeah, I agree. I never had a phone with the unexpected shutdown problem. Sylvia doesn't either. She's on an iPhone 7. I've heard from people who had this problem, so I would like to see and try what happens. I do not expect the difference to be massive unless your battery is really in a bad state. And I don't think, because we change phones every year, I don't think we will ever be at that point, the three of us. So we can try see what it's like.
But like Stephen, you like the fastest of fast machines now. I know that's your new thing in 2018. If you and your iMac Pro, would you be able to live with a throttled iPhone?
I agree with Federico. Having my phone shut off is way worse, which is why Apple made the right decision here. They just didn't tell anybody. My hope would be that they send a notification, but I've talked to a lot of Apple Store employees from they all email me, all of them, and they're dying. Like they are dying. They are being crushed by a wave of people who want batteries.
Gosh.
And so maybe I could see Apple doing notifications, but in staggered releases, right? Like they alert 15% of users or whatever. I don't know. But I'm glad to see it's there. I think putting the toggle in there, I understand why they're doing it politically, but I think that I would leave it safe and sound. But it's the beauty of having a new phone every year. You're not going to be caught by that. I am very curious though if my wife's 2-year-old iPhone SE is going to be affected. I've not run Geekbench on it because I don't want to know. Because once I know, then I have to go put a battery in it, and then I got to deal with the Apple Store. So I'm just letting her float along for now. Sorry, Mary.
What else have we got? So
Health
records.
Yeah.
What is this health records thing?
This is an initiative by Apple with select medical institutions so far in the United States that basically, if your hospital or clinic, if they integrate with Apple, so this is something that needs to be done at a technical and administrative level between Apple and these institutions. But if they support each other, essentially, Apple can read data from these institutions and the institutions can push data to the Apple service. You will be able to get your lab results, your allergies, your upcoming procedures, this medical information synced in a unified interface in the Health app, which is a new section called Health Records. There's a few. Apple has a list of the institutions that will support this feature when iOS 11.3 launches. I think it's a great idea, especially because having been in and out of hospitals in my for problems in the past, I know that there's a lot. Especially now I'm referring to Italy, but there's a lot of fragmentation of getting paper records printed out, and somebody gives you a CD, other people give you a document, and then some people email you a PDF. Other people print out the PDF, but it's a really bad quality. So having this kind of unification would be amazing, especially because it's got encryption and passcode access and all that.
I'm telling you, I don't care what anyone says. When you go to those hospitals, they're still using the paper, right? You get it right on your phone, which is great. But I cannot imagine any medical institution not being horrifically behind the times, even if they've adopted something cool and fancy, right? They're like, oh, yes, we're just bringing up your records now. And he's just sneaking a look at a piece of paper on the desk.
I honestly cannot see any hospital in Italy, not at least in the next 15 years, adopting this protocol, unless Tim Cook becomes the president of Italy, and which, given our current situation, would be ideal, I guess. I do not see this coming to Italy anytime soon because I do not have any faith in our infrastructure. Obviously, in the US, at these institutions listed by Apple, the situation appears to be better. They are modern. They support APIs and concepts like that. So that's awesome. There's a list in the Apple. Apple has a dedicated press release about this feature, and there will be more information on a web page that Apple, I think it's apple.com/healthcare or something like that. So I think it's great. I think it's it's very consumer friendly. The interface looks really nice. Lab results and stuff like that does not look nice usually. So you get the integration with Health, you get the integration with HealthKit, and you get a nice polished design, which is not something that we can usually say for medical records. So I'm happy to see this. I know it's never going to be available in Italy. So it's also kind of weird to say, I wish I could use this, because no, I do not wish I could use this, but it looks nice.
I would like to see this open up at some point. So right now there's like a dozen or so hospitals and clinics around the US that they're supporting. I would like for it to be something that, other groups could opt into, or even give users the tools to enter data, right? So things like prescriptions, or things like, what vaccinations do I have, that sort of thing. Giving some framework within HealthKit to keep up with that myself, right? Because, I'm not in one of those 12 or 15 hospitals. I don't have anything seriously wrong, but just for that everyday kind of stuff, it would be nice if the Health app could be a little more flexible as far as what it holds. And so I hope this is the beginning of a larger push to make digital health records more accessible to everybody, not just those who happen to be at these partner hospitals.
And not mentioned by Apple in the public release, but in the developer beta notes and such, iMessages or messages in iCloud is back.
Yeah, it is.
Back from the dead.
I am telling you, Mike, I'm looking at it right now because my small iPad Pro just updated to 11.3. This is not my main one. This is the secondary one.
I still feel, though, that like messages in iCloud feels like just a not good thing to enable on your main iCloud account. Like, I would be really concerned about that one. I personally had a great experience when it was in beta. Oh, of course, because you've already done it. I mean, yeah, just do it again. Why not?
I've already done it. Personally, I know that a lot of people had problems. It was really great for me. I love the feature because I didn't have to delete, messages to, the same set of threads and conversations was in sync between devices. It was great. But now I'm looking at it. There's two things that jump out at me. When you launch it, there's a splash screen. And for some reason, in the first beta of 11.3, you cannot take screenshots of setup pages anymore. When you get the onboarding splash screen, you cannot take a screenshot of that.
They're preventing against you.
Well, I'll take a photo or whatever.
Well, that's what you don't know, though. They're using Core ML to black out the photo. It's very impressive stuff. This is probably a minor detail, but there's the logo, right? It's the messages icon, but it's in a different shape than the normal app icon on the home screen. It kind of looks like the shape from iOS 6 before iOS 7. I don't know. It's been in development for a long time, turns out.
Either this is a mistake or somebody has a sense of, it's a throwback to the days of iOS 6, or Apple is experimenting with the new design language, which is the conspiracy theory that I like to go with. This is the new shape of icons. I don't think so, but it's funny to mention. So I just turned it on, and it's... it's doing nothing. No, but I've
had a weird bug recently on my 12.9-inch iPad where messages just go out of order, like just on their own.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're just, like I'm sending a message to somebody and I send it, then they reply, but their reply is before the message that I sent. And it's the only way to fix it is rebooting. It's really weird.
The update yesterday addressed that.
Oh, really?
I believe.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it was in the notes.
All right, because I ran the update, but I haven't experienced that problem today. I guess that's why. But okay, that's good to know that's been fixed. That has been very frustrating recently.
Well, it's uploading stuff to iCloud. It seems.
Oh, gosh.
I enabled the toggle in the iCloud settings, and I assume it's doing something. I don't see a progress bar. Well, anyway, it's back. It's here, and from the wording of the release notes, the way that Apple phrased it, it seems like they are evaluating the feature in the current beta of 11.3
to see if the work they've done has fixed whatever problems they were having. I guess.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we want to see in this release that either we probably are not going to get, we think we're not going to get, or we might get, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what is the type of stuff that we're hoping is actually in the shipping 11.3 that maybe hasn't been spoken about today?
I would love to get your the idea for keyboard shortcuts that you brought up on Cortex last year with CGP Grey about being able to send results from Spotlight to Split View or Slide Over. I would love to get those keyboard shortcuts, but I'm checking now. There's
keyboard shortcuts for opening apps in Split View. Yeah, that would be nice.
There is no keyboard shortcut. So
you could put that in the full release, and I'd be happy. I want to see Apple Pay Cash come outside of the US.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not something that they need to beta test, right? Like that could still conceivably be in 11.3. So that's what I hope to see. Steven, is there anything that you want?
Dark mode.
You're gonna be one of those people. Is there dark mode in this beta?
I feel like I tried to be constrained.
Did they change the whole UI in a 0.3 beta? Did they do that?
Yeah.
Does it have dark mode?
If they don't, just keep it. I don't want it. All right, I think it's time that we evaluate iOS 11 and High Sierra. It's been about 6 months. Why don't we do that? But before that, let me take a moment to thank our final sponsor for this week's episode, and that is Timing, the automatic time tracking app for macOS. In today's fast-moving world, the next distraction is right around the corner. This makes it harder and harder to make sure that you're keeping on track of your projects, and also to actually determine how much time you've really spent working every day. That is why you need an app to help you stay on top of your time, but manual time tracking interrupts your workflow and is easy to lose track of. This happens to me all the time. I sat down this morning and I had been working on something for 15 hours. That wasn't correct. So this is a thing that, like with manual time tracking stuff, you can get into some problems because you can, if you forget to turn it off, it will just keep going until you're done. That is why Timing is different, because Timing automates your time tracking to save you as much time as possible. First, it automatically tracks how much time you're spending on your Mac, broken down by app, website, and document. But that's a ton of data to work through, so Timing lets you drag and drop to create rules that automatically categorize your time. So, for example, if I'm in Google Docs in the connected sheet, then I can say that's podcast preparation. And you can, even that minutely, you can set up the categories. It's really, really amazing. Timing also understands that not all of your work happens when you're on your Mac. That's why it automatically suggests to fill gaps in your timeline so you never forget to track a meeting or a phone call. It can even automatically ask you what you did when you return, so it's never a case of you having to remember to do it. You just get prompted to do it. Timing is a great app. It's under constant development. It looks fantastic. Its reports are awesome. It really is fantastic. If you sit and spend time in front of your Mac every day, this is a really, really awesome way to get into time tracking. Timing's so confident that you're going to love their fuss-free approach, they offer a totally free trial. You can download the 14-day trial by going to timingapp.com/connected. That's timingapp.com/connected. And you'll save 10% when you purchase via that link. Timing. Stop worrying about time and focus on doing your best work instead. We thank Timing for their support of this show. So, we're doing a review. Let's look at, what do you want to start with? Should we start with iOS or do you want to start with High Sierra?
Let's start with the Mac. I think it's I want to hear from Steven about High Sierra. Yeah.
So how's High Sierra going for you, Steven?
So this came to mind for me when I got an email from somebody a couple of weeks ago complaining about the headline I used for a High Sierra story. It may have even been my review, saying that High Sierra is sort of this generation's Snow Leopard moment. And I think that's how I felt when I reviewed High Sierra. The beta process was very smooth for me across multiple Macs. Clean installs over old versions of macOS. I do my homework, which is what I told this person. It's like, it was fine. It is been the last couple of months since it's been out where I think High Sierra has fallen from that high praise. We've had lots of security issues. We all remember the root login deal. There was a problem that was just fixed this week where anyone could unlock the App Store system preference, which is not a huge deal, but that should not be possible.
It's an embarrassing bug.
It is. And there's still UI server problems for users with certain graphics cards, especially in older iMacs. It's been buggy. And it's been an OS that I think has not lived up to what I hoped it would have been. And I think, honestly, how Apple pitched it. I think Apple didn't say it's the new Snow Leopard, but the language they used was meant for Mac fans to feel that way. And I don't think it's lived up to that. Just today, as we're recording, there's news that macOS Server is being depreciated in the spring. There's only going to be 4 services out of the 20 that remain.
What does that mean?
Worrisome if you use macOS Server.
Like what do people use macOS Server for? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't know.
So for instance, if you have it in your office and you have your company's contacts and calendar shared on a macOS server, that's going away.
Wow.
If you use it for mail server, if you use it for caching stuff, that's all going away.
When was macOS Server last significantly updated?
With Sierra. They didn't even rev it this year with High Sierra.
I mean, that's not a long time then to start deprecating things. I thought you was going to say like 10.9 or something.
No, they're saying in spring of 2018. Now this news is just breaking like as we've been recording, so I've just glanced at it. But in spring of 2018, macOS Server, most of it will be depreciated. So no calendar contacts, network stuff, mail, net install, a bunch of other stuff is going away. So I think that Mac users are frustrated by High Sierra. If you're kind of a pro user, there's a lot of stuff that's still broken under the hood in places. And I think it's just a little disappointing that a release that was promised to be really focused on polish and fixing little bugs has introduced lots of little bugs and some not so little bugs. Like whatever the hell broke with root login, like something is clearly very broken with authentication in this OS. And I don't think Apple's fixed it all the way yet, at least as of last week when yet another system preference login issue was discovered. So APFS hasn't shipped for Fusion Drive owners. Like there's just a lot of stuff that hasn't landed with 10.13 that I think is frustrating. So like all in all, like I'm running High Sierra on my iMac Pro. Obviously I have to. I'm running it on my 2015 MacBook Pro. My wife's running it on her 2015 MacBook. Like it's fine, but it just doesn't live up to what Apple had promised. And I'm not one to blow the Mac is doomed horn as loudly as others, but it is a little concerning that their desktop OS seems to be languishing a little bit. And so I hope that moving forward from High Sierra, if we're going to stay on this stupid annual release cycle, that they really have a release out that really does live up to what they say it will do. And so kind of, it's not thumbs down, like you should run it, if you can, but it hasn't been, I think, what a lot of us kind of felt we were promised it would be.
Do you think that maybe like they just didn't have a lot to put in High Sierra, so they were just like, oh, bugs, fixes?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know what you put in Mac OS at this point because the thing is so mature.
Right.
And really, if you look over the last, so I've been reviewing Mac OS releases since Mountain Lion. If you look at the ones I've reviewed, most of the features, like the bulk of the features added in that time period of the last 5 or 6 years, have been iOS features that Apple has glued onto the Mac to make things work better together. Except for Linen, that was a terrible decision. But except for Linen, a lot of the stuff, handoff and a lot of the iCloud stuff, all that is to make the Mac play better with its iOS cousins. And so that's really where the innovation has been on the Mac for a long time. And that's fine. They should continue to do that because I want it to be more seamless to move from my iPad to my Mac to my phone and back again. I want that to be as seamless as possible. I really do. But past that, I just don't know what there is to add to it. That's why I'm not in charge of macOS software. Your driving instructor is. But so I don't know. Like I just feel, I sit here thinking about this feeling sort of just not forgotten about, not even angry about it, but just sort of vaguely disappointed.
Let me try and lighten the mood a little bit with some iOS 11 stuff. I want to talk about multitasking on the iPad.
Yeah, okay.
I have 100% internalized the new multitasking system.
Yes.
It is not a difficult thing for me. I don't struggle with it. Frankly, I consider the multitasking system on iOS 11 to be a vast overall improvement. There are places where I think that Apple can and will adapt the system. Like, it would be really great to have multiple pairs of apps. So, you can have Safari and Notes together, but then you can also have Safari and Chrome together, and they don't get all upset and confused, right? There will be a way in multitasking for you to pick between them. I think there would be an interesting way to do that. I think that's a possibility. But having the base ability to be able to work with 2 apps plus slide over has made significant changes to my workflows on iOS. I don't switch between apps as much as I used to, because in most instances, I never need more than 3 applications to do a specific task. I really like it. I've gotten very used to it. I know how it works, and I feel like an orchestra conductor sometimes when I'm opening apps and moving them around the screen, and like I have my own little you kind of, if you use something for a while, you end up like you find your own little funny rubber chicken moment. Like, I'm trying to think of an example before I give my actual example, where like
a pre-example.
So I can contextualize it a little bit. Like, let's imagine that. And you know what? I can't think of anything, so I'll just say what I do. So when you drag an icon out of the dock, you kind of have to hold it for a moment over an app for it to like make its gesture to show you that it's going to land on the right-hand side, right? Like, so it kind of like expands the box so you know it's going to go in the right place. When I'm doing that, I kind of wiggle it over the application because, like, in my mind, it's like, this will speed it up. And I can think of another one now. This is like how when you're trying to airdrop something to someone, you tap on the airdrop icon, but it doesn't actually do anything. Like, you're just tapping on it and waiting for the person to come up, and then you hit them, right? So it's just like a thing in your mind where you're like, I'm making this go quicker by doing this, but you're not actually doing that. But that's just a funny little thing that I like because I really like the system. I think it's awesome. I like being able to move apps around from the left pane to the right pane. Overall, like the dock is incredible. The dock was such a fantastic addition to iOS. It really is awesome. Dragging things out of Spotlight, like multitasking, for me personally, has given me basically everything that I wanted, and a bunch of things that I never even imagined I would get when compared to the iOS 9 and iOS 10 version of multitasking on iOS.
I have to agree with everything you say. I recently did my entire taxes for the past year entirely on my iPad. Sorry. And unlike in previous years where I would have to basically open my Mac out in frustration because it was basically impossible, through a combination of split view and a workflow that I made for this, and using iCab, which is a third-party browser that allows you to download stuff unlike Safari. But really, thanks to Slide Over and Split View and the dock and the new drag and drop stuff and files, I was able to do the entire thing, bookkeeping and collecting expenses and receipts and sending all the data to my accountant. And, we have a Trello board now, so that was also awesome because I can automate that with workflow. It was great.
How did you convince your accountant to sign up for Trello?
That's incredible.
That was one of my most important and impressive accomplishments of 2017, getting my accountant on Trello and convincing them that my way of organizing receipts was the way to go. And yeah, I'm really happy about that. Also, I made a workflow that I shared with Mike and Steven and John for converting currencies. It was a whole setup, but really the gist of this is thanks to iOS 11 and all the multitasking features, I now can do entirely on my iPad Pro what before used to take me several hours on a MacBook. Now, I'm sure that people who use a Mac can do this stuff faster, and all that. We've been here before. But I would say iOS 11 on the iPad is the best iPad experience I've ever had. It's not... There's still things I would like to see. And and it's not perfect, whatever perfection is. But practically speaking, there's a few bugs that I want to point out. More than ever in iOS 11, I seem to be getting iTunes password prompts, iTunes Store password prompts, almost on a daily basis. My theory is that this happens for apps that deal with checking in-app purchase receipts, over the API in a strange way. I don't know how to define in a strange way, but I'm fairly certain that's the case. Some apps that do some weird things with checking whether you previously bought an in-app purchase or not. Receipt validation, I think that's the name. Also, it appears to be happening if you have a test flight beta that is asking you to unlock the subscriptions or in-app purchases for free. iTunes just goes crazy on iOS 11 for that. The keyboard on iPad, sometimes this is something that I've noticed on iOS 11.2. Sometimes when I switch apps with the Command Tab switcher, and when I go back to the previous app, the keyboard, whether it's a smart keyboard or a Bluetooth one, cannot type anymore. Cannot type letters anymore. It can just type punctuation. Now, I'm not sure if this is just my iPad. But basically, I want to write a sentence and instead it's just a bunch of commas and periods, which is inconvenient. And it's also...
That's not good.
It used to be better when I was using a smart keyboard, because all I needed to do was just to lift my iPad, break the connection, and then place the iPad down again. With the Bluetooth bridge keyboard, I need to press and hold, turn off Bluetooth on the keyboard, and turn it on again. The smart connector.
Yeah, that seems. Yeah, the keyboard stuff seems buggy.
Yes,
I've run into that a bunch. And the best part of because I use the smart keyboard cover deal, and the best part is it's really hard to do that quietly because the magnets yank the keyboard against the spine of the iPad. Like, I've woken my spouse up trying to do that. It's like, what is that noise? Like, my iOS doesn't work. I'm really sorry. So sorry.
And I want to mention the smart connector. As I said, it's real buggy. I don't know what is going on, but it seems to be software. I think Steve Troughton-Smith, of course, did some digging a few weeks ago, actually, on Twitter. And a lot of my friends, I should mention this because otherwise my friends are going to be upset if I do not bring up, as they say, the problems with the iPhone on my Apple radio show. This is what they call it. There are...
It's like you're the only one that can fix this stuff,
yes,
right? You have to bring the opinions to the masses.
I'll tell you what, a few weeks ago, a friend of mine, he texts me on WhatsApp, and he's like, Tichi, I have an idea for iOS. And I'm like, what is that? And it was something about being able to switch the icon for the battery percentage on the iPhone 10. I was like, this is actually a good idea because, a lot of people miss the fact that at a glance you cannot see the battery percentage. So my friend had this idea for a setting, and he was like, you should tell this to Apple. And I was like, it doesn't work this way. I can talk about it. I can maybe mention this in a story, but if they add, because he was under the impression that if I bring this up and I say, my friend, Tim, I don't know, what's a common name? Tim Hackett, let's say it's my friend Tim Hackett, he thought he was going to have credit in the iOS release notes for a feature.
No.
That'd be awesome. This is not how it works. Anyway, my friends think that iOS 11 is really buggy for downloading photos from iCloud Photo Library because whether it's a photo or a video, it tends to be slower or just give you the exclamation point error more often than before on iOS 10.
I noticed that. I had that problem.
See? Okay.
Which is why I switched to downloading my entire library. I have a big phone, but it was really annoying.
So it's real. Okay,
yeah,
so it's a real
I
thing.
had this. And I was getting really concerned that my photos were lost because I had optimized storage on, but I would go to a photo from like 3 weeks ago and it would have the exclamation mark on it. And it was like, what on earth is going on? So I looked at how many, like I have like 80 gigs of photos or whatever in my iCloud photo library. So I was like, screw it, I'm downloading them all. So that's what I do
that's
now.
what I'm doing now. I guess I didn't notice because I
same.
have 256 gigs iPhone 10. Yeah.
It just felt like a wasted space, like for me to use it, right? I was like, oh, well, I have iCloud Photo Library, like it's all there. But then
you have 100 gigs free on your phone.
Yeah, but it's like, whatever. Like it's just, I don't need to. My thinking was like, I don't need to have all my photos on my device because I can just download them ad hoc. But it wasn't working very well on iOS 11, so I did it, and Adina does it too. So she has a big phone now, so she downloads all of her photos as well. Yeah, so it seems like something weird is happening.
I think you also want to mention something that you do not like, Mike. I know that it's an exception from your era of positivity, which lasts until June, but we can talk about bugs.
I'll say, like, I have still general positivity, but of course there are things that I don't like. Like the HomePod. I don't like the HomePod, and I think that Files app can be a hot mess, even though I love it. I have a real love-hate relationship with Files because Files makes my work so much easier until it doesn't. And this is something that I am struggling with a lot, right? Like, this application is amazing, like what it can do when it wants to work. There are two things that Files does that make me want to just pick up my iPad and just chuck it straight out of the window. It forgets my favorites. I don't know why. And then just sometimes they pop back in again, like halfway through I'm scrolling through this long list in Dropbox, and then my favorites appear again, my favorite file of like folders that I want to access. But the worst one is when it straight up refuses to download files. So I'm trying to access a file that is like 1.5 meg, and the spinner just starts spinning, and it won't work, and nothing will download until I reboot my iPad. Like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know whose fault this is. Like, I don't know if this is Dropbox's fault. I don't know if it's Apple's fault. But I'm going to lay the blame on Apple because I can go to the Dropbox app and download them immediately. So if it's something about the implementation from Dropbox's side, then Apple needs to make it easier for Dropbox, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what it is you have to do, make it work for them. Because I feel like recently I have been using the Dropbox app more and more. And like, then the problem is, right? I want to attach something to an email. I want a file in Dropbox. I want to attach it to an email. So I open up the file picker, and then it starts spinning, and I can't do anything with it, right? So I close it. Then I go to Dropbox and realize, oh, well, this isn't the root because I can't take this file from Dropbox anymore because I can't access a Dropbox file picker because I have the Files app. So I have to go to Dropbox, save the file to iCloud Drive, then go back to my email app and attach it from iCloud Drive because there's no way for me to get to Dropbox unless it's through the Files app. So if the Files app is refusing to download the file, I have to move the file to iCloud Drive. It's like, so frustrating. But when Files works, it is like a completely new world on iOS where I am able to get so much more done, so much more efficiently. Like, I'm dragging stuff all over the place. I'm like moving things from location to location. I have like iCloud Drive as like this little scratch area, but then when I want to save a file, I just drag it into Dropbox. Like, it's awesome. It's like agnostic to the services that I use. They all mix in together and it works brilliantly. And that's why it's annoying when it breaks, because when it works, it's all I wanted. But when it breaks, it's like all you're doing is showing me how bad it used to be, right? And it's even worse than that because I can't get to the Dropbox file picker. So yeah, that's my frustration. That's my biggest frustration with iOS 11 is the Files app.
Yeah.
And that's something, I mean, this is a bigger topic than just today, but say that the Files app like structurally is okay, but it's got bugs. You shouldn't have to wait a year for them to fix that, but you're going to because that's how they work.
I don't know. Maybe it's better in 11.3. It genuinely might be. Like, I don't know.
It may be, but it feels like those big issues just get kicked down the road sometimes.
It does for the iPad anyway.
Yeah, with the iPad, and so that can be frustrating. My experience with the Files app is very similar to yours. I was so excited. I was like, because so much of my work is file based, and I was excited to be able to bring some of that onto my iPad. And it's been so frustrating because everything I use is in Dropbox that I've just kind of given up on it. And the Dropbox app is on my dock and the Files app isn't, because the Dropbox app works. And that means I got to jump through some extra hoops. But
I refuse to give up because the Files app is so good when it works. So like I won't allow myself to give up on it because it's so much better than having the Dropbox app when it works. And it does work most of the time. But the problem is that when it doesn't work, it breaks so badly that you don't forget it. Right? Like, one other thing, and this isn't really, this isn't something that I feel is a complaint, but it's just something that I've noticed, and I'm sure we all have, now that we're not just 6 months into iOS 11, but we are like 3 months, 4 months into the iPhone 10. I think the iPhone 10 is really showing that iOS needs to be rethought in a bunch of places. And I guess the assumption always would be, and that this will come in iOS 12, and I expect Apple to show this in iOS 12, that like, I think Control Center and the multitasking gestures, they could be better. I feel like that they've done what they can considering how iOS 11 was, like, and I think that they could make some changes there, and I believe they will. Overall placement of key app elements, I think Apple needs to show some new stuff on that, and kind of lead the way with some new paradigms and some new ideas for how navigation and stuff should work on iPhones now that they're going to be taller and bigger, especially if we do get an iPhone 10 Plus, which will basically, like, the screen will be the biggest screen any humans ever touched, is my assumption. And the use of color and darkness, I think that Apple should be showing what the OLED screen can do. I think they have far too much white in their applications, and that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing on an OLED screen. So these are things that I didn't expect, and I don't expect to be in iOS 11, but these are things that I expect to be addressed in iOS 12. But when we're kind of looking at how iOS 11 is running, this has been some glaring things for me, is just like that the iPhone 10 feels, I don't know, it feels like the last iPhone that will use iOS in the way that it looks like right now, I guess. That's kind of how I feel on that one.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Is there anything else on your mind for iOS 11, Federico?
I mean, I mentioned the multitasking and the Files app. I agree with you. Really, at this point, I just want to see how the multitasking vision grows. I'm happy so far. I'm really happy with iOS 11 so far. I'm starting to feel some of that confusion that you mentioned in, the differences between using iOS 11 on the phone versus on the iPad. I'm starting to feel that in daily usage. So some consistency, but also not just making things more consistent, but still keeping the iPad on a growth path going forward to bring in new enhancements, bring in new features, and really make the iPad more friendly when used with the keyboard, and maybe add new gestures. I just want to see more options for Pro users, because it's right there in the name. It's an iPad Pro. So I would love to see more Pro interactions with the software. I'm quite happy so far, which is strange because usually, at this point I have a whole long list of wishes and ideas and problems. Not this time, which tells me that I'm happier than usual with iOS.
This is the best. This is probably the best iPad iOS release ever.
Oh, yeah.
I think there are people that will disagree with it. I disagree with those people, right? Like, I think that this is the best that it's ever been. And I understand, like, if big sweeping changes turn you off the system, I get that, right? Like, and that is totally valid. But there will always be big changes. One day there'll probably be some kind of change that will make me feel uncomfortable about something. But I think with working on iOS is better than it's ever been. And yeah, that's my opinion on that.
And I think what's exciting about it is it doesn't feel like a dead end. The way, like iOS 9, that app, the multitasking stuff, the app switcher, and that all felt sort of like this is what it is, but it was hard to imagine where it could go from there.
Yeah, well, I think that when iOS 10 rolled around, then it felt like the dead end, right? Like iOS 9 was like, oh, new God, imagine. And then like iOS 10 came around, nothing changed, and then it was like, well, this is how it is forever. Like, what changes can they make?
But even if 12 doesn't bring a lot of changes, it feels like, okay, like the Files app could become a lot more. This multitasking paradigm could become a lot more. It feels like they're in a much better place to move forward from than they've ever been. And so I'm excited about now, and I agree with you, but I'm also excited about what it could become because it feels so solid now.
Mm-hmm. It does. I agree.
So I think that's it. Oh, I got to close the show now.
Yep.
That's a lot of work. So let's see what we have to do. If you want to find show notes this week, relay.fm/connected/177. You can get in touch with us there. There's an email link that just comes to me. So, be nice. Send me a picture of something nice, and I'll email you back.
This is already something new in the Hackett era. I never spoke about the email.
Yeah, I do it in my other shows. I get a lot of show email. It's fun. It's way better than Twitter because Twitter just goes by and it's gone forever. But if you want to find us on Twitter, you can do that. Federico is there as Viticci, Viticci. Mike is there as iMyke, IMYKE. You can find me there as ISMH. Thanks to our sponsors this week, Squarespace, Pingdom, and Timing. And until next week, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Adios.
No! Everything is wrong.
I guess that's how it works now.